to turn out in American political history. So we're going to beat Trump because this will become a contrast in ideas. One of us in this race led the opposition to the war in Iraq. You're looking at him. Another candidate voted for the war in Iraq. One of us has spent his entire life fighting against cuts in Social Security, wanting to expand Social Security. Another candidate has been on the floor of the Senate calling for cuts to Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and Veterans Programs. One of us led the opposition to disastrous trade agreements which cost us millions of good-paying jobs. And that's me. And another candidate voted for disastrous trade agreements. One of us stood up for consumers and said we will not support a disastrous bankruptcy bill. And another candidate represented the credit card companies and voted for that disastrous bill. So here we are. We have two major goals in front of us, and they are directly related. First, we must beat a president who apparently has never read the Constitution of the United States. A president who thinks we should be an autocracy, not a democracy. But second of all, we need a movement and are developing a movement of black, white, Latino, Native American, Asian American, gay and straight, African American, gay and straight, of people who are making it clear every day they will not tolerate the grotesque level of income and wealth inequality we are experiencing. We will not give tax breaks to billionaires when 500,000 Americans sleep out on the streets.
And Bernie Sanders using his speech tonight to take direct aim at Joe Biden. Another sign that this is a two-man race tonight. Want to update you on some of the other contests. CBS News has a projection Joe Biden wins the state of Oklahoma. CBS News also has another projection to call at this hour. Arkansas, Joe Biden tonight wins the state of Arkansas. Let's look at Massachusetts. This now leans Biden, a state where he had no television ads, spent just $11,000, and leads, and Warren is in third. Minnesota, take a look at this, leans Joe Biden at this hour, a state that Bernie Sanders had thought he could topple Amy Klobuchar. She threw her late support to Joe Biden, and that contest now leans to Joe Biden, which means he has the edge in that contest. Want to check in with Anthony Salvanto, who is at our decision desk in New York. Anthony?
Hey, Nora. So we said Minnesota was a lean Biden because as the vote starts to come in from the Twin Cities, he's running even with Bernie Sanders, and that's an area where you might have expected Bernie Sanders to do especially well, but it seems like as long as Biden runs even with him there, he's going to do pretty well statewide. And then Massachusetts, too, we're kind of going back and forth on this, but it looks like sort of the same deal. In the Boston area, a lot of liberal Democrats, but right now our models show that that's even between Biden and Sanders, too. So as long as Biden can keep up that pace, he looks like he's in pretty good shape in both those states, Nora.
All right, Anthony, also again on the Minnesota, I'm looking at the numbers. Biden spent $6,000 in Minnesota. I mean, it's just breathtaking, the very small amounts of money that Biden spent in some of these states in which he is winning tonight. Proof that sometimes momentum can catapult someone into a victory, and perhaps name recognition, certainly as the former vice president of the United States.
Never even visited Arkansas or Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But in Minnesota, you just heard Bernie Sanders say the only way we're going to beat Donald Trump is if we have somebody who's not the same old, same old. Well, that's, of course, he's talking about Joe Biden. Then he walked down and talked about Social Security cuts and a whole list of particulars. But if you look at Minnesota, a state where he hoped to do well, voters in the exit polls who were asked, who do you want to beat Donald Trump? 66% said yes. Biden beat Sanders 44-23. So they are making a conclusion. The person who can beat Trump in November is Joe Biden by more than 20 points. If you look at non-college white voters, working class blue-collar voters, Joe Biden beat Bernie Sanders in Minnesota, but he was just making the case that only he has this special access to these blue-collar voters. So the girding understructure of his campaign is taking some hits tonight, and not just the fact that he's losing in the delegate numbers.
Mm-hmm. The other factor there for Minnesota, ask Democratic primary voters, would you prefer to return to the policies of Barack Obama or become a more liberal party? It's divided almost evenly right now. 43% say, let's become more liberal. 42% saying, let's go back to the ways of Obama. If the number holds like that in Minnesota, that helps explain why Biden is winning. But again, whatever cabinet position she wants, Amy Klobuchar has it after what she's done for him in the last 24 hours.
It's an extraordinary night thus far for Joe Biden. 6 states he has won. Bernie Sanders 2 states, but the big 2 prizes still remain. The night is young, Texas and California. There's a lot more ahead, including the role play